you think OU will have another Heisman winner in the next 3 years? I think that's an interesting question. Poor boy. I mean, one of the things it's not necessarily a correlation, but Teddy Lehman the other day felt confident enough to tweet out that that he felt like Oklahoma was going to win a national championship within the next 3 years. I think for me, I would prefer to see a national championship versus a Heisman. Um, but I think that remains to be seen. I think a lot of times um, you see it's more optimal, obviously, at the quarterback position. So, you know, look at a guy like Dillon Gabriel. I mean, he's going to be way, way far behind early to start the year, just in terms of where he is at projected to, from a national scheme perspective. But if he plays really, really well, at a university like Oklahoma, if you put up great stats, and they're going to in Jeff Levy's offense, that could be an option. And then you got Jackson Arnold coming down the pike, and you've got Nick Evers in the fold, just depending on how that shakes out. And always remember that Gabriel does have 3 years, 3 more years to play, and he could still be on this, certainly be on this Oklahoma team for the next 3 years, because he doesn't have all of the super, super great measurables that you look at, out of an NFL guy. I think to a certain extent, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield's been able to kind of kill that stigma a little bit about short quarterbacks, but still at the end of the day, he could be a guy that sticks around for a few years for Oklahoma. So I think those are the guys. I mean, I think if you want to, I think if you want to go outside of that, you could look at a guy like Javante Barnes, who I think a lot of people are super high on, as am I. As obviously maybe not necessarily this year, but as you move forward a little bit, Oklahoma in this offense, he could put up a lot of numbers. So good question, Freddie. Our poor boy. Sorry, I was getting to the next one. Freddie, how is Jaron Kanak doing? Haven't heard anything lately. I mean, I think he is a guy that's going to play a lot for Oklahoma, Freddie, this year. I think you look at him in that kind of hybrid linebacker nickel cheetah position that Venables likes to employ on his defense. I see him getting a lot of playing time there. He probably battles with a couple of other guys there. I think you've got TD Roof, who's going to be part of that conversation as well. But everything I've heard, he's doing great from a summer, just adding strength. And I think that's one of the things that's always pretty concerning early on for those true freshmen, is really just kind of getting adjusted to the speed of the game, and then really kind of putting on that weight. He was already, I think physically ready to compete at this level, as opposed to some kids that come in. But I think he's continued to put on a lot of weight and built that strength through the summer. So fall will be really interesting for him, Freddie. I think one of the things for these freshmen, and just the defense overall, it's a little bit more. It's a lot more complicated. And maybe not necessarily complicated being the right word, but I think more so it is really a situation where it's more in depth than what Oklahoma's defense has had before. I think when you look at whether it's the defensive line calls or whether it's the total defensive calls, I mean, I think everything that I've heard is Oklahoma had somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 overall play calls that they would have in any certain situation, which is the entire playbook under Grinch. And I think it's probably at least double that, maybe 2.5 times that with Venables. So there's a lot of learning that has to go into everything early on, I think. And so and for some of those kids that are true freshmen, and maybe not necessarily true freshmen, but even redshirt freshmen or new kids into the program, learning that defense and understanding, a lot of times when you're learning, you play a little bit slower. So if he's able to play fast, he has a good, has a good idea of what that defense really kind of looks like, and has a really good, just a really good feeling for that. So I think he definitely has an opportunity to will play immediately in some capacity or another. So Biggie, yep, good point. So actually had a conversation with this and some of the people that I talked to as well. I think LeBlanc had been fonged to Florida for quite a while, and that was actually flipped this morning. So it's absolutely an Oklahoma and Florida battle. If you follow Derek, if you follow his dad Ricardo at all on social media, they are incredibly supportive of Oklahoma. It's almost all Oklahoma. So I think I would be extremely surprised if that commitment later this week doesn't go Oklahoma's way.